Who did you guys work with? How did you guys do the construction?
No, it's not about the
Did you have a GC or you guys subbed?
Yeah, we had the.
You're looking at the construction guys.
Stop.
We scrubbed every brick in.
That's what I'm saying. YouTube, and then how to paint the wall. That's how we would.
You're telling me you open up a cafe, you learn on YouTube, not just how to run the
I
cafe.
used to watch YouTube videos on how to do latte art.
Get ready for Real Lives of Real Estate, where the world of real estate meets the essence of your life. Buckle up as we unravel stories, homes, and the heartbeat behind it all. Let's dive into another episode. I hope you share and are encouraged. I'm here with Kreshnik and David, friends of ours, local Newarkers, small business owners. So I would always like to share my number one question, guys. What did you guys grow up in? Did you guys grow up in a house? Did you guys grow up in an apartment, a farm?
Go ahead, David. Go first, because mine is not very glamorous.
Okay.
So I grew up in the house in the city.
You were a city living?
Yeah, I'm from Georgia. So Kreshnik is from Albania. Mm-hmm. I was born in the city, the capital city of Georgia, Tbilisi, and I was born in the house. I was not born. Unfortunately, I was not born in the village because I always wanted to be born there and had. I don't know why, but
it's not too late.
I wanted always to have the village, like the farm and stuff like that. But no, I was born in a city.
And now your apartment, was it like how many apartments were in your apartment building?
It's like 5 floors, and on each floor there's 3 apartments.
In America, we had this guy on in the city. He was talking about, and I just found this, from living at 55 Union. The guy was talking about how in his building, people got to know each other. He said when he was growing up, they would like play outside.
Exactly.
Like, oh my gosh.
Yes.
How was that for you?
So the neighbors is very it's like your family, all the neighbors. You should know, not you should, but eventually you're knowing all your neighbors in your neighborhood. So even like 2 blocks away, you know them too. So you know like who is friendly and who is not friendly. So
Okay.
not everybody is friendly, obviously, but most of them, like 80%, are super friendly. And in Georgia, it's like when you have a guest, it's like everything to you, like the guest is like your family. So they can take, they can eat, they can drink anything they want. Yeah.
Wow. So you had a big sense of community, even though you grew up in an apartment building.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Wow.
I'm pretty sure it's the same in Albania.
How is Albania? What did you grow up in Albania? Apartment as well or house?
No, contrarily to his situation, I was born in a very small town, roughly 700, less than 1,000. So
People?
Yeah, very small.
Oh my gracious!
It was it was an area that was allocated post World War II for people who were dissidents of the regime at the time. So Albania went through a very isolationist period where it became the only Stalinist regime in Europe. So I was born under those circumstances in a town where it resembled a bit of a concentration camp setting without all the barbed wires and the mass killings, but definitely very like under surveillance. And it was a situation where Albania at the time when I was born was the poorest country in the world, believe it or not.
Albania was the poorest country?
Yeah, per capita. It was in the 80s, it was the poorest country in the world. That includes the entire globe.
When did you come to when did that click in your head? Like, hey, something, because you didn't know any different, right?
Right. No, I mean, when you're born in those conditions, it's hard to know what else is going on, especially with the lack of mass media and forms of communication. So you're kind of living in an environment that you're just taught. You're just living in it.
And this was so I imagine this village, you probably have, I mean, maybe I'm being like, forgive me if I'm being rude, but I imagine you have like a small, like cottage, house, like a farm.
Yeah, it was similar to a cottage. I would say a little, some stucco in there, but surrounded by, olive trees. So this is the Mediterranean. So, you don't really suffer for like good vegetables and fresh fruit and things like that. So I definitely had a very fulfilling life as far as like things like that go, in my early childhood. However, when you were talking about paved roads, like that was not available, and electricity was only 1 to 3 hours a day available.
You kind of see very different, right? You have Georgia, you're industrialized, you're running, right? You have these beautiful buildings, maybe not beautiful buildings, I imagine beautiful. There's a lot of community happening. You kind of have this like foster of like, hey, we're safe, this is good, right? Boom. Then this, you're just basically surviving, right? The pulse of this country is like doo-doo. How did that impact your like mindset as you like would grow on?
Another seismic shift happened in my life where when I was 7 years old, these circumstances changed for me. And we moved as a family from this particular situation to Istanbul, Turkey, which is like another contrast that yeah. So like you go from a very small town of 700 people, as I mentioned earlier, to over 10 million folks in a very large city overnight. And then you start really putting things in perspective. And, you know, then you start looking at what, you know, larger community living entails, you know, having, you know, transit, having, you know, a large empire be present around you.
Yeah.
Istanbul at the time still is. It was the longest empire to have gone on for. It was about 500 years. So you could see different centuries on every road that you pass by. So yeah, that was quite the difference.
Were you told before you moved, or was it like, hey, pack your bags, we're just gonna head out?
I was told, but what was that going to mean to me?
You're 7 years old,
I thought I was just going to another town where, you know, something that was.
But what real estate people think is just sales, so develop nice buildings. But the way that our communities are like stationed, even do you know there was an architect in Newark, right next to the Prudential Center. There was their big parking lot. He was going to make all that. He was going to try and make it into a park. All those parking lots were going to be a giant park.
Right.
And I saw the drawings of the Dietz building or the Reitz building across the street from 55 Union, the Dietz building.
Yeah.
I met the owners there, and they showed me their father proposed a plan and was raising this. Like,
well, the father was one of the founders of NJIT.
Of the Dietz building?
Yeah.
Really?
So yeah, he's very involved with the city.
Oh yeah. Well, apparently he just passed. Literally, like last year, because they had an open house at their building. I hit it off and talked to them. Anyways, but he showed me, and it was so unbelievable to see. I'm like, how would that beautiful park have impacted the community, right? Or impacted the way that people live life on a daily basis?
Right. So if you look at the way cities are set up in Europe, let's take for example Paris, and I was there in the summer for school. The way they're set up is that the apartments are smaller. They live in, you know, confined spaces compared to like how we live in America. However, the city there is set up in a way where the parks are like the essential, you know, places for people to congregate. So Sundays especially, but other days as well, after work, people get together, you know, in a plaza. So they have that mindset from an earlier, you know, time. Whereas in America, we're now just starting to look at how we build our cities and, you know, how we look for spaces where we can have more areas located for family, for children, for leisure, entertainment.
Yeah.
And, you know, because the cities that we know are they tend to be larger, like New York City. That's what we know around here.
Huge,
and if you go to New York City, you don't have the things that we just spoke about. Like, you know, although you have Central Park.
But even then, they just cut the parks were cleaned on a daily basis. Now they're reducing them to like 3 times a week or something. They're cutting them cleanings in like half. So like the maintenance, like trying to save budget in New York City. So like the people were saying like we already have so little. The parks are like what we care for. I saw all the like Latinos, right? They're there, dude. They're having a great time.
The what?
The Latino community is out there. They're playing soccer. They're playing basketball. They're grilling. They're enjoying life to the fullest. I'm over here and like simple clothes, everything simple. I'm like, these guys are living it.
Yeah.
I'm over here. I'm stressed on a Sunday after church. I'm like, oh God, I have to do this. I'm like, it's like 2 different worlds.
But David mentioned earlier in the way the cities were set up in the Soviet era, because both Albania and Georgia were, you know, for a brief period together in the Soviet Union, is that the larger buildings, the apartment buildings, they had this sort of setup where they had, you know, a considerable space allocated for a large park in an area where people would, you know, get together. So that's something that was really present in the cities like, you know, Tbilisi, where David grew up. So like the Westerners, they have a different mindset about how cities should develop, and the Easterners, they kind of follow that blueprint. Whereas in America, we're kind of like a mixture of ideas.
After Georgia, David, where did you go?
So after Georgia, I moved to United States.
Okay, how old were you when you moved?
Yeah, I moved in 2016, in the end of the 2016.
And what did you do for work when you first came?
Here in United States, I was a busboy.
Oh, so you were in hospitality industry since day one.
Exactly.
Now you guys are running Five Corners. You guys run Sahana. Is there any other? That's what you guys have right now, right? Unless I'm missing something, I'm not missing, right?
We're in the talks of doing something larger that we've been thinking about for a very long time.
They're in the talks. There we go.
In the talks, yeah.
They're in the talks. Tune in next week. Okay, and now when did you come to the States?
My family moved here in 1998, July 4th.
Wow. Okay, so you went from Istanbul to the U.S.
To
July
the US,
4th.
correct.
Did you know it was Independence Day when you moved here?
I did because
Okay, cool.
I was hugely infatuated with American culture when I was a child, when living in Turkey. So it's that thirst of like not being able to have access to things and then being able to have it, and then your imagination starts flowing freely. And I used to get up at 4 a.m. and watch like NBA games.
In Istanbul, you said?
Yeah, Utah Jazz versus Chicago Bulls, Michael Jordan, John Stockton. So I used to be a huge NBA fan, and then that American soft culture, like movies, music.
How did the Istanbul Turkish community welcome you as an Albanian in all these things? Did you ever have like a racial tension there or anything like this?
So racially, I mean, Albanians they're white Europeans, and the Turkish are slightly, their complexion is a little darker. They're brown. However, there's millions of Turkish people who look German or who look
really?
Albanian.
Okay.
So that's not as evident there. And also because Albania was part of the Ottoman Empire for 500 years, they have mostly positive attitude towards their former colonies.
Wow. Okay. You moved in 1998, 18 years before David.
Yeah.
When you came, what did you do? Were you working? Were you in school?
Well, when I moved to the States,
Yeah.
well, I was in middle school, so it was very,
1988. Oh my God.
I was very young, and then I lived in Linden, not too far from here. Finished middle school and high school there, and then I went to the University of Rhode Island.
What did you do in Rhode Island? What were you studying?
Well, initially I had dreams of becoming a professional soccer player that didn't work out so well. But I was able to play D1, which is half the dream.
Yeah,
half the dream.
But pretty cool.
Yeah, so I played for a year and change.
Are you still able to play now or no?
We tried, but I don't have the same skill set and stamina.
You mentioned actually the Latino the community.
Yeah.
We play them sometimes. So
that's dope.
they beat us badly.
Okay, I'm guessing. Oh, I know you're a big soccer fan, dude. So
Yeah.
Huge.
Okay, and you still play?
Yeah, we sometimes go out in that parks that you mentioned. So
Mosquito.
yeah.
Okay,
And then
sweet.
we played.
All right, let me dive into the business side of things. So I kind of have a very broad idea. How do you guys meet?
So when I used to live in Wellington and I was working in Keller North, so I was my travel to go from Wellington to work, it was like 1 hour drive. So when I was to save some money, I was not paying tolls, avoiding the tolls. So I was going through the Newark.
Oh wow!
And that's how I met Newark, by going through this Route 21, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then one time...
This is how we keep our expenses low.
There we go. Now it all makes sense. The business acumen.
And then a couple times I just stopped by in Newark to eat. And then I was like tired driving 1 hour to the work. So I was like, let me find something here. Googled it, some restaurants. And the first restaurant that popped up was Fornos of Spain. And I just walked in and they gave me work right away. In a second.
Wow.
They were like, you can...
Now you live right next door.
Exactly.
Wow, full circle.
Exactly.
Full circle. Whoa.
So I used to work there for 3.5 years. We didn't have a lot of crew members. So, and one guy, the Albanian guy, walked in the restaurant, and
It was funny how that happened.
and they hired him.
As what? Were you a busboy as well?
No. He was a waiter.
No,
as well.
yeah, I was a waiter.
Okay.
And
Very
then I
similar.
trained him. I was his trainer.
He was my boss for a while.
Wait. Okay, I'm sorry. This is a crazy. Is this all true?
It's all true.
It's fact checkers. Okay.
Nobody actually believes this,
This-
but
okay, so you're
this
going-
is the truth. Sometimes he tells people that we met on like chess.com.
What was that conversation like? Because right now you guys own two different, restaurants. Well, yeah, both restaurants.
So the
restaurant.
conversation between me and him, because he's European, and at Fornos, because it's a Spanish restaurant, there's 89% of people were Latino people. So I was the only one from Europe. No, there was like couple Spanish people from Spain, but everybody spoke Spanish. So it was me who didn't speak Spanish at all.
Yeah.
So when Kreshnik entered, I my first question was, do you speak English? He was like, yes. I said, finally, so I can speak I can speak at least my bad English to someone that speaks good English. So, and then so he told me that he was from
No,
Albania.
the second question was, do you speak Spanish?
And that was,
And the answer was
no.
Un poquito.
un poquito.
So,
Wow.
but the funny story was that while I was working in Fornos, everything was in Spanish. Even the computer, the system was in Spanish. And I told my manager, I said, I don't speak Spanish. I speak like
English.
in Georgian. No, I said Georgian if you need my Russian and I mean my broken English if you need. So, but I don't speak Spanish. Why did you hire me? He was like, I don't care. You have to learn. I said, learn what? Spanish? I said, I barely speak English. He was, you wanted me to learn Spanish? He was like, yeah. You want a job? I said, okay. After that, I went to Spanish school in New York. So I was going there for once a week to learn Spanish. So now I kind of speak Spanish. I'm not fluent, obviously, but I do understand a lot of Spanish.
I've heard you speak some Spanish.
Yeah, I
That's
do.
How
Yeah.
I hear it sometimes.
Yeah, I do speak Spanish. So I can communicate with the workers, at least, you know.
How do you guys end up going from there saying, hey, we're going to partner and open up one of a kind corner coffee shop, restaurant, etc. Super hip. Meanwhile, get right. During the pandemic,
Because
you
we
guys
were,
on
we got
drugs
tired.
one
No,
night,
we
and you
got, we
guys
got,
like, oh, this is
no,
a
we
good
were
idea.
always going out on the break, after the work for having a beer, you know, whatever, dinner, lunch, you know, and we were always going to the different restaurants in Ironbound because Kreshnik was not familiar with Ironbound that much. So he's anywhere he goes, he likes to explore everything. I'm not like that kind of person.
Okay, I'm like
He
you.
goes, he knows everything about the Newark right now. I still don't know because I'm not interested to go there and explore. I don't know why. And then we were sitting down and we were like, he had an idea he had already the name idea, and he always wanted to open coffee shop, right, Crash? Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I just wanted to have some business, you know, like restaurant, coffee shop, whatever.
Well, you should
didn't-
talk about your background. He has a very extensive background in restaurant management.
Oh, as well.
Yes.
Yeah, in back in Georgia, I used to.
Okay, yeah, you kind of let that one slip there.
Yeah.
That would have been a helpful little.
He has a
little
master's
touch.
degree in restaurant
Yeah, he's
management.
like, I just started. I was hungry one day, and
Yeah, I used to work in a Wendy's in Georgia. So when in 2012,
and you were
one rich guy, he bought the franchisee from Wendy's in Georgia, and I became then the manager, then general manager, then district manager. I got the visa to USA. I came here. This was my second time when I got. First time when I got here, I was in Ohio. We went to the Wendy's headquarters. We learned teach us how to open the drive-through restaurants. I went back to Georgia. We opened 4 drive-through restaurants there, and then it was very nice for my age when I was 22, 23, 21 to 23 years old. I had a very nice salary. I had everything there pretty much, but it was not. I was like, okay, so what I'm gonna do more? You know, I'm not gonna become.
Yeah, you're not gonna become.
that
You got to own the
billionaire.
Yes.
Yeah.
What was it like taking the jump? A lot of people don't want to partner, right? They feel like, hey, I'm my own person. You guys think about your experience. I think in Albania, you guys like. I would be in my mind. I would think my family and I, how we would grow up, and that's how we would reflect. I would just imagine would be like, oh, don't trust anybody. Don't trust anybody.
Yeah.
Don't trust anybody. So how do you trust another person in business going into it?
I mean, we're wildly different characters, so that's number one. However, that doesn't mean that's a weakness. Being different is not a weakness in my view. But on the other hand, there's like a cultural integration that we have embedded in both of us because of how we grew up. Albanian culture and Georgian culture are not very far from one another. They're both very ancient nations. They both went through a similar recent history with communism, and they're both countries that are entering globalization right now. So we kind of have similar viewpoints on the macro stuff. The reason why it works with us two is because we have a way of getting out of the way of each other when we're aiming to do something, when we have a task, we almost instinctively know to stay out of the way of, the person who is leading that particular task. And also what plays a key factor in getting things done, I think, is that when you see that someone is taking the lead, it becomes imperative to just be a supporter of that as much as you can, and have the person who's leading have all the resources that you can deploy for them while they're doing it.
Yeah.
So we've kind of done this instinctively now. In the beginning, obviously, it wasn't like that because we were still getting to know each other.
Yeah.
But another thing that's hugely imperative, I think, is the human element. If you have faith in the fact that the next person to you is a good person,
it helps a lot.
It's a very good beginning.
Yeah.
It's like a starting point that saves a lot of trouble, I think, because people go through these like you mentioned, people they get enthusiastic about starting a business. However, you don't know the intention of the person that you're starting a business with, or how they're going to behave in a particular situation with money, with, sacrifices, with their time. Not everyone is ready to do what is required to do. And you also don't know what is required to do unless you go through it, which is another issue. I mean, you could read about it all you want. I went to business school. I read a lot of things about a lot of things that are related to business. However, until you're doing it, it's not the same. I'm sure that's the situation with you too.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. I have no educational background in business whatsoever, right? So like I just got into real estate because I couldn't get a job. That was like literally the only thing. Like I applied for a job, I didn't get it. I walked away crying. I was like, oh, I called my
Look at
friends,
you
like,
now.
"It's
We can't drive down McCarter without seeing your face every day.
Yeah, Newark has been good to me, and I do love Newark, especially the houses of Newark and the people. Come on. But no, in all seriousness, I had like no idea. For me, actually, I had like the opposite. I don't know if you guys experienced this. I had the opposite problem. So I thought making money was almost mission impossible. When I sat down with my first broker, I asked him, he asked me, how much money do you want to make? I said, I want to make $60,000 a year. At the time, that was the most amount of money humanly possible anyone could make in my mind, unless you were a doctor or born into money. I don't know. My brother, he speaks like 6 languages, went to Harvard on a full ride, very intelligent, worked for Michelle Obama, like very smart guy. I'm like, my brother is the type of person to make more, right, than 60, but I'm not. That's how I approached it. Well, I made more than 60,000, right? I kept making more than 60, and then I made a lot more than 60. And then I realized the bigger problem that I had actually in business, it became honestly a big challenge in like my business and how we were servicing customers, because I was able to market well, I was able to get clients well, but our service plummeted and our financial management plummeted, which then our referrals plummeted. So it's one thing to make money and get sales. That's actually like not the hardest part. The hardest part I've learned is actually to keep the money and keep the quality of your service with your clients. Because now there was a point, I would say 3 years ago, I would never recommend someone I wouldn't recommend people work with us. 3-4 years ago, honestly, I wouldn't. We were like so messy. Like it was chaos all the time. As a business owner, I would like go to work. Like honestly, I would need like caffeinated as hell just to like, oh man, this is insane. There was no systems, no documentation, retraining, turnover. It's like, oh my God. Then I have clients complaining. And the one thing I used to love, right, helping people, buy a house, turn a house to home. Now as a small business owner, I was like, I actually hate this with all my soul. Don't call me, sell your house. I felt like that. Thankfully, I hired good people. I read a few good books, and I learned. It's like, not that I hate the business. It's just I was not running a real business. I was just running like chaos. So then as we got like more structured, the profit margin at first actually shrunk a lot. When we got more structured, like we made a lot less money. It was like, and then actually the profit margin went bigger, and our service and our referrals got bigger because it was like a 12 or 18 month turnaround that we started getting referral clients of like people saying, yeah, you know what, Brendan did do a great job for me. You should work with him too. And it was like a year and a half of doing that. But once again, I think if I had gone to business school or something like that, maybe I would have learned that stuff, like how to do a P&L, how to manage people. We were doing crazy stuff. But okay, I'm sorry, I'm rambling now. So
for how long you've been in this business?
We've been in real estate as long as you've been in the country. Literally, I'm not kidding you. I got into real estate 2017. 2017, I got into real estate. Like on the date on April or May 2017. Yeah, so I've been here, and I grew up in like a very like low income family. I don't have any like connections or like, hey, let me hook you up.
We opened the cafe with how much money in the account? The first day we opened.
First day, we had
Maybe
in bank account we had minus $2,345.
No.
The first day we
First, yeah, that's how we opened.
You open up, grand opening, cut the ribbon. We're negative.
We're negative. No, and
there was
yeah.
some sort of bill that we knew was going to come in. It was going to go like a direct.
It was
like
no,
a direct payment.
it was
or something.
minus 2,000, 3,000.
So you didn't open Sahana with a ton of money. You opened Sahana
And we had
negative.
and we had $30 in cashier. That's what.
$30 in what?
$30 cash in cashier.
The cash register.
Cash register, yeah.
Wow.
And then minus, and then and that's why.
What, were you guys crazy?
You know what happened? Then when we open up, and we had to open because I'm telling you, we had minus in the bank account. We had to open.
We had no choice.
And we opened in during pandemic, and there was a regulations and rules, no mask, blah blah blah. I said, that's it. We are doing only mask, nothing else. So and then it was like it was kind of
Wait. The design of Sahana is one of my favorite, honestly, aspects of Sahana is the design. And I think it's usually underrated. People think like, oh, things look good, but it doesn't really matter. No, aesthetic matters.
Yeah.
It affects your mental psyche profoundly. I do a lot. When I saw a house in Newark, I walked some of these houses. It's filthy. There's a bunch of crap everywhere. There's mold. It's dark. How can you not be depressed in that environment? It's so depressing.
Yeah,
I walk
hard.
in, I feel heavy, like almost like spiritual. It's like, man, this is dark. You walk into Sahana, how do you feel? You breathe. You feel like breath. You feel like a fresh breath. You go, wow.
That's all David's plans.
when we opened, it wasn't.
That's kind.
It wasn't like that. It wasn't like that. When we opened, we couldn't see anybody inside, so we did it for in the beginning we couldn't see anybody, so
But
it was for nobody.
beautiful.
I mean, it was beautiful,
So
obviously.
what gave you guys that idea?
You kind of only saw the shell in the beginning
Yeah.
when we were open.
But it was
we still
empty.
haven't entirely finished the cafe to
Exactly.
today, and then
till today?
yeah, and we've kind of almost given up on some of the ideas that we wanted to establish in the cafe because it's been so long now. Does it even matter anymore? Because
Yeah.
it kept like. It was like a metamorphosis that kept happening every
Yeah.
year. I don't know if you remember when we used to have
The big table?
Yeah.
table, and then the large wooden beams for the shelves that we used to just sit there and we put
yeah.
the books on top
It
of
was
them.
too chaotic. That
It
one.
was super chaotic,
Yeah.
but a lot of people liked it. They thought that was
Cool.
Exactly.
It was a vibe.
On purpose.
First time when we opened, and we had to open like this, right? And then we had like drills, like screwdrivers, like the coffee
'Cause
cup,
it
like
was
used
construction
coffee, exactly, used coffee cup. And then we were like, we have to open. What we do, like, just put it everywhere. Like we put it on the shelves, and then people are coming and they were like, "Oh my god, this is so nice! Who put this drill there?"
Wow.
I was like,
They thought it was an art
that's so
installation.
cool. I was like, what? I was like, I just forgot that there. I was like, and they were like, oh my god, that's so nice. That's so cool. I was like, cool one, like the used coffee cup there. It's not cool. I said just, but
It was a wild time. I think people have forgotten how crazy like the beginning
I
of the
definitely
pandemic.
was not there in the beginning, but I will tell you the story.
No, I mean in general, like the months following the
Opening.
the lockdown.
Oh yeah.
Those 3, 4, 5 months, they were incredibly
True.
different, and it feels now like it was 20 years ago, 30 years ago, but it wasn't.
Yeah.
Just 4 years ago. It's 2020.
we were dragging in people. Just try this coffee, try this food.
Okay, let's pause.
And then
here. Wow, my level of respect for Sahana and you both has just increased tenfold. You open up a restaurant, you have no previous opening up a restaurant experience of your own money. You
Yes.
open up with little to no capital.
yes,
You open up as both immigrants.
Negative capital.
Negative capital. I'm
capital.
sorry. Not little, no. Negative capital. You open up both immigrants from as far as and from Newark as could be. Right? You might as well be from China. Right? Literally opposite side of the world.
that's actually true. Yeah.
And literally so distant culturally, everything from the Iron Mountain.
Yes.
You guys come in. You guys are waiters at Fornos de Spain. Well, Fornos de Fornos Spain. And then you guys say, you know what? We are going to get this corner spot and we're going to make it a vibe. We're going to really make this something special. All this craziness you guys go into. You open, you launch, you survive. Coming on 4 years. Congratulations.
You know how we survived?
Tell
We would wake up. We had to open at 7 a.m. and then we didn't have workers, right? We couldn't afford workers. We had like only 2 workers, one in the front, one in the back. So and then sometimes I was the dishwasher, sometimes Kreshnik was dishwasher. I was sometimes like waiter outside.
Not a
like,
very good dishwasher, but not a very good one. I wasn't.
yeah. and then we would close at 7 p.m. But we were tired, right? So we would take 1 hour break. But this 1 hour break was at Sihana again, and then we were cleaning entire Sihana till 1 a.m.
But it does take a toll on our
Of course.
our lives.
Yeah, the social life takes a hit for sure. You know, the restaurant business. You know, you've got a lot of hours. You got a lot of weird hours. It's an eccentric business. It's not a very straightforward. There's the human element that's involved in it more so than other industries. It's very intense human element that goes along with it, and it's hospitality. So people are always expecting excellence all the time. You know, and humans are not robotic. You know, it's not possible to have that sort of outcome every time.
It's not possible.
It's not it. So that part can be a little draining. So that there's a spillover effect with
into your personal life,
social life, personal life, family life, things like that.
If I may ask a question, how now you survived Sahana 4 years. What led you guys to take the decision? And this is actually really into another I would think famous real estate space, right? Which was the Five Corners location at the literally at Five Corners. Very historic space. It used to be a florist, yes?
Yeah, Santos Florist.
Yeah.
Well, we got to go back a little bit in the history of how the cafe came about anyway.
Okay, tell me.
So similar to your brother, I used to live in Boston. And the concept for a hospitality restaurant group was kind of born there in an innovation lab. So a lot of the elements that went along with the cafe were kind of drafted while I was at this innovation lab studying there. And the idea has always been to create spaces in underserved communities, hard to reach communities, places where we definitely conduct enterprise. You know, we're a business. However, there's a social impact component that's attached to the running of the business. So the idea is that we would create these concepts where we can maximize on the social, impact, and the cafe does that in a very targeted way. You know, we are part of the Working Kitchens program together with the EDA and Audible and City of Newark, where we've cooked over I think we're approaching 200,000 meals.
Yeah.
200,000?
200,000 meals. So, community centers right across the street from you, places of faith, churches, mosques.
200,000 meals in general, or?
No, just us, just our restaurant. This is a program that has served more meals, obviously, with, that encompasses other restaurants. But this has been.
And who are these meals for? The general public, you mean, or like for these nonprofit locations specifically?
Sometimes they're for NGOs, sometimes they're for churches, sometimes they're for mosques, sometimes for senior centers, sometimes they're for civic associations. It depends every week. So
that's like 50,000 meals a year.
Yeah, it's a lot. This was a program that kind of flourished during the pandemic due to the fact that a lot of these were hard to reach
individuals,
folks. So the idea of our business is that we're going to conduct enterprise, but at the same time, let's look at ways in which we can serve our community in a very creative and impactful way. On top of that, we're the only secondhand bookshop in all of Newark in the cafe.
Yeah, the cafe has a lot more to offer than I would originally have thought. You were in an innovation lab. When you were in an innovation lab here up there in Boston.
He was in Boston, yeah.
My father actually lives in Boston as well, funny enough now. But did you ever think to yourself Newark would be your location?
Well, I always knew about Newark because I grew up here, and this was also like a cultural center of New Jersey, tri-state area. So people who are from here, they know. Like when I was a kid, I used to come to Broad Street and buy white tees and bootleg DVDs, all of that. This is where you came.
This was a spot, yeah.
Or if you wanted to buy Rockaware, things like that. That was the look.
And here you
back
are
then.
coming. You love the American culture. It was like
So
this
I
is a no-brainer.
was always super in love with it. It was something that kind of like it just kind of it became like second nature. So I always thought that a concept like this could only flourish in a very like hard to reach space, and these type of opportunities, they're positive opportunities. They're not just strictly like money driven things.
There's a cafe. I'll go unnamed here for the podcast, but they are like they take the like cool vibe and they monetize the hell out of it. And like local here in Nutley, right? And they actually run a really cool business. The guy's a DJ from Miami. He ended up opening a coffee shop here in Nutley. So random, unbelievable. I think it's called like it's like Sugar Tree or something like that. Sugar Tree Cafe. You guys should visit. It's very very cool. The way they monetize stuff is so interesting. Yeah. They are about the money. You see. Every item on that menu is for the money, with the money, how the money, everything you do. They made that spot with one thing in mind: how can we get this on Instagram, and how can we make money? That's all. That was like the vibe. Boom! It was a very beautiful spot. They have a tree in the middle of the place, like a fake tree, but you feel like it's like a real tree, and it shined. With that said, with you guys at Sahana, what would you say was the biggest personal, like, positive impact it had on both of you guys?
On us personally?
Yeah, like positive wise. Because there's a lot of hardships, right? But there has to be some positives.
Of course. You know, I think the main thing that occurred for me is that, you know, I started looking at all the things that I can do better, kind of like conquer your old self, you know? When you start reflecting and you look back at the things that you could have done different, the idea would be to conquer the self that was not doing those things correctly. So the cafe gave me the opportunity to become a better student. I went back and finished 2 master's programs.
Would you have gone back to school if it wasn't?
I don't know.
Cafe?
You know, I was in the midst of finishing one, but I don't know if I would have went for a second one, which you know I'm doing here at Rutgers Newark, and I'm concluding in May.
Wow, that's really cool.
But you know, the business, the pandemic, the combination of both, it was an opportunity to a lot of self-reflection, looking at the way you're doing things before, and kind of shifting and adapting to a new environment.
Inspiring. And I'm serious because that's one of the things. Like, I don't think I would be as like knowledgeable. I read now quite often, and I really never truly read up until business. Business shaped my like reading habits, and it's only because what the business. Every time I grow, right, the business grows. The business can never outgrow the individual. Yeah. Right. My clients will never get. My business will never be able to offer a service to the customer if I don't increase my ability to offer the business the service that the business needs.
That's right.
So when I look at you guys, I'm like, no, you are right. When it comes to, rather when I listen to you say, Kreshnik, I think you're right, because being in business, I've been forced to be better. Right? You can't just coast because the business doesn't coast.
No,
it doesn't coast. It requires you to be better every single day than you were yesterday.
Yeah, that's one of the attributes of, you know, owning a business too. It's like that. It has that motivating factor built in. It's like intrinsically it comes with it, whether you like it or not. Is, you know, at the end of the day, think about it in these terms. You have to wake up in the morning and open the door. Starts with that.
Okay, David, how about you? One positive impact that Sahana opening up the cafe here in Ferry Street, Sahana, has had for you.
So I grew a lot. I learned a lot. I'm telling you, when I got here, I barely spoke English. I was literally writing the new words, new slangs. I learned a lot. Like, I literally grew up in United States, you know, and especially when I opened the business, it was kind of, you know, like the country Georgia is like you can open business like this. You don't need.
Really?
It's super easy. It's the most easiest. Countries to open the business, you know. Obviously, then it's difficult to run and then keep it up.
Hey, you can open it.
You can open it. Here to open the business, you have to have like 10 different lawyers in 10 different stuff.
Yeah,
and then the customer service is different too.
Oh, that's true.
Than in Georgia. So I had to switch on this side of customer service. You know, like. There in Georgia, you have to be very strict. Like strict, I mean like serious. You know, you cannot make jokes with the customers.
Not like friendly,
no. Exactly, yeah. Well, here, you have to be very friendly. You know, like you have to know customers here. You know, like by the names, by the where they live, what they drink.
Dog names.
You know, you have to know. I mean, not to have to, but it's good to like. When you go somewhere and they know your dog's name, you know, like it's crazy, right?
No, it makes a difference for sure.
I didn't like Kreshnik went to the school, right? I didn't go to school here in United States, right? But that's what I studied a lot. Like, for example, doing taxes, you know, like doing speaking to lawyers, you know, like doing the contracts, like reviewing the contracts. still, obviously. I'm
Yeah.
having
That's
Kreshnik, he helps me a lot, and
Yeah.
he teaches me a lot, like all these small
Yeah.
details that I don't know. So,
But make a big difference.
yeah, of course, yeah, no. Now, like, I know everything. When like I know how to open LLC. I know
Yeah.
to who should I go.
Who should you call?
Anything in the city. I know every
Yeah.
door, every cabinet, like where
Yeah.
to go. What should I ask?
Yeah.
Like what should
He
you know?
finished his bachelor degree since he opened the cafe.
Wow, literally. Like,
Yeah, I
on the
know.
job training.
I literally know
on the job
every
training.
license, which department needs
Yeah.
any license, who
Wow.
should I call, why should I
Okay,
call,
then-
what is first, what is second, what is third, what is
Can I ask you a question
Yes.
here, David? Let's say if you could time travel, boom, 4 years ago, you're just about to open the cafe, a few months into opening, right before you open the cafe, before the pandemic. What do you wish you would have known back then, if you could go back?
Four
And just
years
tell yourself
ago?
one or two things.
4 years ago, we would have think if we would have opened a cafe because we didn't know if it was pandemic or not.
Okay, let's say no pandemic. Okay, let's say no pandemic.
We would,
Yeah.
we probably
walked
would
into
not
one,
do
right?
that.
You probably would have said, let's wait.
Let's wait.
Yeah,
Let's wait the storm out.
or let's renegotiate the terms of this lease.
Yeah.
Right? For
Oh
sure.
my God! Yes.
Oh yeah, and a lot of people got
it's
killed
another
because their
story.
lease had no forced their mirror, right? Act of God, kind of.
We during the pandemic we paid every month
Were
the
you guys
same
able to
lease.
utilize like any
No.
SBA loans or anything like that?
No.
Because you were so new.
No,
Yeah,
we
we were
couldn't
so
get
You were
any.
too new, right?
We
Yeah.
couldn't. We didn't have access to the PPP
Yeah.
program.
You were just too new.
Too new. We
What
were
a bummer!
huge.
Oh my gosh,
huge.
man.
And we didn't get any relief from the rent too, so we paid the entire rent.
And you guys were commercial, so there's really very little to no protection.
Yeah.
At all. Yeah. Yeah.
This is my Oh.
So what was the question?
So if you could go back, let's say no pandemic.
Okay, no problem.
What do you wish you would have known?
Like in my opinion, more stressful was during the construction period. Construction period was very, very stressful.
Who did you guys work with? How did you guys do the construction?
No, it's not about the.
Did you have a GC or you guys subbed?
Yeah, we had the.
You're looking at the construction guys.
Stop.
We scrubbed every brick in.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, that's what.
ourselves. We cleaned.
Whatever
we
you
took down the
whatever you
ceilings.
see at Sihana,
We did the
did it.
flooring ourselves.
No,
We did
no, this is not true. Come on, guys.
During the pandemic, we would have
Part 2.
turned the
like
YouTube, and then how to paint the wall. That's how we would.
there's no way this is true.
You
What do you mean?
I learned how to
Entire
do latte
ceiling.
art on YouTube.
You didn't. You're telling me you open up a cafe, you learn on YouTube, not
I-
just how to run the
I used
cafe.
to watch YouTube
Brandon.
videos on how to do latte art.
Brandon, when you enter the Sihana and you look up,
Yes.
entire ceiling is painted by us. We painted the entire ceiling. You see the.
You guys
did
are
you
crazy.
did
You guys are not mentally
the
well.
the bar?
You guys are not mentally- What
Bar
happened? Did you guys
is-
not have like? You guys are the type of people, honestly, that go like, that there's a squirrel suit, right? You go like this. This is what it kind of looks like to be entrepreneur with you guys. You guys are like squirrel suits. You have these little things right here, and you guys jump off the cliff.
Electric. So when I told
all
my
the
mom that
profit that we made went into therapy after.
Literally, I wouldn't be surprised. Wow, you guys are crazy.
in Georgia,
Good for you.
I didn't know how to change the
A light
bulb.
bulb.
Exactly. And when I told my mom that I did entire, I
Yeah.
mean, obviously with the help,
Yeah.
the electric, she said, "No way, you didn't do it." I was like,
Without even turning off the panel. He was just.
"No, it
go-
doesn't like
go
that
with
much. Sometimes, but not."
One time I caught him hyperventilating.
Would you guys say the Sahana was a successful venture?
Oh, absolutely.
course.
Absolutely.
Why?
It's not one answer, obviously, but if you look at it from like a bird's eye view, right? You look at the fact that like what I'm most proud of is that we almost honored everything that we targeted as far as like the social impact part of it. On top of that, we never compromised on pricing, knowing that we're serving working class people in the city and in our neighborhood. When during the pandemic, avocado costs went from X amount to 30 times more, we never changed our prices. When eggs
Even now.
went from $40 to $200, we never changed our prices. That part, I'm very proud of because we never sort of like lost our purpose. We always stayed faithful to what we wanted to do, even though there were hardships in all kinds of forms. And some of those we just kind of mentioned. Ultimately, when you look at the roadmap and how we got here, it was difficult, but at the same time, it's a very simple notion. Like if you set a target, you have these objectives, you stay faithful to your values and principles, and you keep a straight road, you're going to be successful.
Wow.
Unfortunately, we in the lease agreement we have to close at 8 p.m. We wanted to experiment and do more cool stuff after 8 p.m.
Can you guys renegotiate the lease, or the guy's not with it?
Maybe we should hire you. You could do that for us. Yeah.
Well, honestly, just like, okay, we're gonna leave. You guys are like, you guys are like perfect tenants, right? But there's not really anything for your 22, 23 to 35. What's your vibe? There's nothing. That's why when you guys did when that guy, what's his name? The guy who does the Passaic River Fishing Club.
Yeah.
Yeah. Those things, even that is great. So simple. It's not like, but it takes off. So if you guys could do something at night, it would be amazing. I think you guys have a big response.
That's why we open the 5 corners.
It's nice. Oh, okay. So, do you know I don't know another Italian spot in Ironbound at all?
There is no.
There is none, right?
No.
I was talking to a guest came. One of my guests yesterday at my house. You guys, 5 Corners. Shout out, great catering service. They came to our house. We had a great meal. You know, the ravioli, delicious. So, what is the plan with 5 Corners? Do you guys want to build it more? What is the plan there?
We didn't even start yet, so
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, because of the issue with the liquor license, but finally we went through everything, and we're gonna have a liquor license in the beginning of the year.
Oh, congrats!
So, yeah,
that's a huge blessing.
that's very good news.
I will say too, you guys had an amazing. When you guys did have the liquor, I'm glad it's coming back. You guys had a great menu. The cocktail drink menu was super cool.
But now we're gonna change entire menu. But
okay.
Don't get scared.
Ooh.
It's not gonna be.
You heard it here first.
We're gonna keep our arancini in the menu. We're gonna just make it different. We're gonna add more different stuff, and we're gonna a little bit make bigger menu. Like add different kind of fish, meat.
You're catering to a hardworking class, right? So I think it's a beautiful thing. But for me, my mindset is very like this: if you guys are not you guys are profitable, I'm not saying that. But even like as a business, I've been negative in a month $30,000, right? I've lost $30,000 a month. So for me, I've had that experience multiple times. They're over.
Yeah.
So for me, I have a key.
We cannot.
I cannot either. So I have a key calling in my life. I do not care if I am not profitable. I can't help. Without a margin, I can't be on a mission. I need to have a margin protected. And I used to be like, oh, no, I feel guilty. Maybe I shouldn't charge. No. I need to make money.
I mean, you're a true capitalist.
Oh, I'm a true capitalist to the core.
But, you got to think about the time when you didn't even have $40 for your
This is why I pay taxes.
Training,
I'll give you a quick story. I made my first time I ever had to pay a larger tax bill, I had to pay like $47,000 in taxes. I only paid my tax in April. I had to pay $47,000. It was like, oh my God, this is crazy amount of money. Oh, I felt like the government was going to kill me. Right? Because when you get paid W-2, you don't really notice it. But 47 grand, I said, this government's crazy. So I call my big brother and I say, Brian, the guy who went to Harvard, I say, Brian, you got to help me out here. Anything financial, I always go to him, right? He's the only guy I know who made any money. And I'm like, Brian, you got to help me out here. The government is a thief. And he's like, Brendan, what are you talking about? I said, the government wants my $47,000. That's not right. And he said to me, he said, I'm going to hang up the phone here. If you ever call me again like this, when I see you, I'm going to punch you. I'm going to smack you in your face. I'm like, Brian, whoa, chill out, man. He goes, do you know how disgusting you sound right now? Do you realize that we grew up on food stamps? And do you know how food stamps are paid for? By people paying taxes.
Yeah.
So shut up. Pay your taxes. Be grateful you made money. Move on. And he said to me, I was like, oh, I felt so guilty. I was like, gosh. Okay, so you got the 5 Corners. You guys said you're working on another project. Can you mention what the other project is, or is it secret?
We can only say very minimal, small things about it. However, it's in...
Restaurant or cafe?
It's a secret, Kreshnik.
It's a restaurant. It's 2 restaurants plus
it's a secret.
A marketplace.
2 restaurants. It's a secret question.
Part 3. Oh my God, I almost...
We got to get out of here. Part 3. Okay, wow. Okay, so 2... What do you say 2 restaurants? So it's like 2 different cuisines?
Yeah, but it's in one space. It's about 15,000 square feet. So it's a large project. Yeah.
15,000 square feet in Newark?
No,
secret.
Not in Newark.
Yeah, it won't be in Newark. 15,000 square feet. Where would you find 15,000 square feet? Okay, guys, look, I deeply appreciate you guys.
Well, thanks for having us on.
Oh,
thank you so much.
I am overjoyed with gratitude. Check out 5 Corners on Ferry Street. Is it on Ferry Street? No, Wilson.
10 Wilson Avenue and 71 Ferry Street.
Yes, 10 Wilson Avenue for the best Italian food. And 71
Ferris
Ferry
Street. Yeah.
for some delicious. Oh, and I just had this really great sandwich, the Parmer's, the prosciutto with the
Turkey.
Oh no, prosciutto with turkey. Is that what it is? And arugula.
Yeah.
Is that yours? Who made
No.
this?
He makes-
The day we were talking about it, he was like, "We should take out from the menu."
No, it's great. You
right.
should never take it
Now-
out. That's great. It's
Now it
fire.
has to stay.
Can I only recommend one thing? A little bit, a little more cheese.
Okay.
He likes.
But what do I know? I'm a realtor.
Just write that in the comments when you more
What do
cheese.
you-
Bridges, extra bridges. That's all.
All right, guys.
You got it.
Adios.
Thank you,
Appreciate
Brandon.